Margaret, hi.
Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Oh, yes, of course.
But what does it matter? Time is only a concept anyway. And I thought that was a rather wonderful entree for us, just coming to the end of the V-door. And here we are to inspire our crowd.
It always evokes fantastic memories, that piece of music.
Yeah.
Being in cathedrals, which is always the best place to hear that
Yeah.
because of the resonance you get from the building.
Yeah, I totally agree. And for me, I think I mentioned this before, but once in Notre Dame in Paris, there was an organ competition.
Oh,
A big, it used to be every year. I think since Notre Dame got burnt down and so on, it's all fallen apart. But yeah, until that happened, it was a regular thing. And I was often in France because I lived in France before I came to Japan.
I didn't realize that.
Yes, I was there 6 years actually, in the High Pyrenees. I was really in the middle of nowhere in a village. So it was a fantastic episode in my life, which we'd never touched on, but I'm sure we will now. But anyway, the Notre Dame Organ Fest was amazing. I went to it several years, and one year I was standing in that huge cathedral, which doesn't bear thinking how on earth they built it, with no machines and things, you know.
Yes.
And suddenly the V-door started up, and my knees went weak.
I've actually got goosebumps right now, as you said.
Yeah, me too. Me too. We are so similar. But it was amazing because my knees went weak and I did think I was going to fall over. So these people came rushing towards me to hold me up and sat me down. And I assured them I was fine, but it was just the power of the music in that space, in that incredible cathedral where no doubt he practiced it, or it was played often, you know. So that was a fantastic opportunity for me. But yes, it is the most arousing piece of music for me, and clearly for you. So, you know, quite often I start my day with a rousing rendition of the V-door because it just changes.
Really?
Yeah, it changes everything for me. I don't know. It's magic. Yeah, really, really magic. Anyway, as we know, music is magic. So, you know. So, anyway, what have you been up to?
What have I been up to? Well, it's been incredibly hot here. And I believe in Japan as well. So,
Well, it's 35 here now, right now. Just checking. Yes,
I think we're dropping down a little bit today, which is a great relief.
Yes, it is. Well, I think we're destined to go up because, you know, in August we often get to 40 here, and even
really?
over 40. Yeah, we get lots of heat stroke victims, especially older people. So in August, you always hear the ambulances running around. You know, yeah, the heat here is something else. Yeah, it is. But I've learned to cope with it, and I just
Sorry to interrupt. Is it a humid heat? Because I mean,
yes. If it was dry, it wouldn't be so bad. Because for me, for example, in France, up in the High Pyrenees, 360 days of sunshine a year. Incredible climate. But in the summer, very, very hot and very dry. So that kind of dry heat I could cope with far better than this wet heat, you know, because it's like it really pulls you down and your skin is totally wet all the time, even though you've got aircon, you know. Yeah.
And that reminds me, that hydration is such an important thing.
Good thing to say.
And it needs to be water.
Yeah, not beer. That's right. Yes, lots of water. Yes, I think it's a really good thing to mention, because, we are 87% water anyway, and so we have to keep replenishing that. As you're always saying, what we take into our body replenishes what we're losing. Uh,
Well, why we eat and why we drink water is because it needs to be constantly renewed. The body
mm,
has to be renewed all the time.
yeah, yeah. Now,
And,
why don't people realize this? I'm not sure.
way back when I used to lecture to groups at a health hydro, and I would start my lecture with the same question: why do we eat? Because it's such fun, because it's sociable, because, I like this, that, or the next thing. Almost never did I get back the answer that we actually have to renew the body constantly.
Mm, yeah. I mean, that's our duty, isn't it? And really, as human beings, one of our duties, I think, I think for me, it's a moral duty, actually. It's like being happy. I feel that's my moral duty to make sure I am happy. Uh, that's a very kind of Buddhist way of looking at
Well,
it, actually. Yeah.
healthy is part of being happy, because
Yes.
if we're not
Yeah.
healthy, actually, it's incredibly difficult to maintain an equitable mood, to be able to contribute with generosity and not be worrying that I need to hang on for myself.
Yeah. Well, as you've demonstrated very recently, with the heat there, it really upsets you and really, changes your mood. I know you've really suffered through the heat. So that's a brilliant example, isn't it? That, people who cannot tolerate the heat, especially if we've got thyroid problems, that's a big problem, isn't it? Temperature. Then, we've got to really make sure we find the right conditions to live so that we can be morally happy. And so, it's really important, I think.
And I think that, again, energetically happy. And that's where the music again comes in, is, as I say, when we're in peak performance ourselves, we can actually share much more generously than we can when we're under par or.
Yes, yes, I totally agree. And yes, I think that if we can encourage people to take the body more seriously, and to, it's our most precious asset, really. I always say that the body and the breath are our two most precious assets, and they're free. They are unconditionally available and free. It's fabulous, isn't it?
But we do need to look after it, and we do need to keep it well tuned.
Yes. So going back to music, of course. Yes. I mean, talking about the Vidor totally changes my brain, my chemistry at all levels.
Absolutely.
I, and I'm a different person after I've sat through that for 3 minutes, 5 seconds, or whatever it is. It's amazing.
Well, I
Absolutely.
think the body vibrates almost in tune with the music that we really love. And
Yes.
that's almost why we love it, is because we are just so finely tuned with it. It resonates so well with us.
Yes. 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 And everybody out there, our lovely LinkedIn members and YouTube members, don't think that this is a hard and fast rule to love and adore classical music, because I mean, I personally love all types of music. I'm a great jazz fan, as you know, Margaret. And I love world music. So I'm always exploring world music, like, African drumming music or things like. I'm always exploring that kind of thing because I love it. And it shows me the kind of earthly qualities of music rather than the more intellectual qualities that, of course, classical music has developed over the centuries.
I think it's not a case of preferring one genre over another.
No.
It's really just being present for what is right now. I mean, one of the most wonderful things that I experienced when I lived back in Africa was, being at a ceremony where there was drumming and movement. It was just part of the celebration of life, or even, no matter what, just to celebrate the human being able to literally follow the beat.
Yeah.
Most.
Yes, and I'm always intrigued by African dancing, and I know lots of tribes that have different dances and so on. But of course, I've experienced that with the Aboriginals in Australia. I haven't yet let myself loose on Africa, and I'm going to do that one day. And you're going to hopefully be my guide.
I'm really not too far from now.
Quite. I'm really saving that. I've kind of saved it all my life, really, because I know there's so much to see and feel and so on. But yeah, I did experience quite a lot of amazing musical things with the Aboriginals, who, I don't know if you know, the dreaming, of course, is very famous. The dreaming and, didgeridoos and so on. Those are the kind of two most famous things, I think, about Aboriginals, and their paintings, of course.
Right.
But actually, when they are in the desert, when they're living traditionally, which my group were, it's amazing because every day they travel, they walk around their lands, which can be, well, my Ninager, the leader of my group, had at least 3,000 square miles of land to look after spiritually. Amazing.
That's a large piece of land.
Yeah. And she was this really tiny, very elderly person. Some people said she was 110 or something like that. She was an amazing person, but she was the chief landowner. And so every day we would go out and walk around the lands, which they know like the back of the hands, and look totally identical to us until we get used to it, And we would go to a particular landform, maybe a big boulder or a ravine or something, and they would sit, build a fire, of course, they always do that. And then they'd start to sing and they'd start to drum. But this will interest you, I think. They don't make drums in Australia, unlike Africans. They use fabric. So the women would use their skirts. So they'd sit cross-legged, and their skirts were pulled. They were wearing quite conventional Western dress at this time that were donated by the church people of that area,
right.
Which they hated, and they're always taking off. And the organizers were always saying, "Put your dress back on," because they just want to be naked, So they cross their legs, the women, and they'd pull their skirts tight and start to drum. Now, I don't know if you've ever tried it, but it's really difficult. I can do it.
I was imagining it and thinking, gosh, I don't think I could pull my skirt tight enough to do that.
I bet you could in time. I couldn't at first, but now I can. And they made the extraordinary variety of beats, and they had crescendos and all sorts of interesting musical devices, which, I couldn't believe it, really. And then the men would use their feet. So they put their feet together, again, sitting very elegantly, and they'd start to push their feet together and make all these kind of squeezy sounds. It was fantastic. And of course, the songs were brilliant. And we'd spend the whole day moving from one landform to another to celebrate the songs of that place. And it was my job to write them all down or record them in some way, which I couldn't do because there was no electricity. But I, recorded them with
I was
on
saying
the
it's a
on the
different way of
stage.
recording.
Yeah, it was very, very exciting and illuminating. So, yeah,
But
I
what
think
for me, sorry to interrupt you, but what
no,
for me is so fascinating about what you're saying is that, and we do not have to be sophisticated, understand the structure of music in order to play with it and
no.
allow it actually to be meaningful to us to the extent that I think it actually elevates us.
I totally agree. Yes, utterly. And these Aboriginals who'd never, ever, I think, heard any classical music, even though they lived in settlements for a while. No radios. People would give them radios and TVs, and they'd say thank you and then throw them away. They meant nothing to them. They were not of the desert, and so they discarded them very quickly. So I don't think they really ever heard much music like that. But it just shows you that all of those things, like the crescendo, which I'm really interested in, because as you know, I worked a lot with the music of Rachmaninoff as a pianist. And of course, for me, he writes the most sublime crescendos of anybody. And they last, 50 bars, maybe longer. So to hear them crescendoing with their skirt drums and their squeezy
That's
feet.
been incredible.
Incredible. I couldn't believe it. And of course, I couldn't talk to them about it because I had no idea what I was talking about. So I just sat there kind of amazed, absorbing all this. But isn't it interesting that I think all of these musical devices, which we've taken into theory and taken so seriously, actually come from the body originally,
I was about to say that, our intellect sometimes can interfere with our receiving. That we
Yeah.
because we're educated, which
Yeah.
is we feel that we've got to interpret, we've got to make sense out of it, so just to receive sound
Yeah.
is in itself something quite special.
Absolutely. And I feel that we were talking about this yesterday, weren't we? Receiving is something that people don't do so much these days. They are switched on to transmit, and then we get burnout because they can't switch off. But to actually just sit quietly and receive some glorious piece of music, or even some piece of jazz or whatever you like, whatever it is that turns you on, just receive it. Then the body can rest. And I feel we're entering very new territory. I call it the unlimited mind, as you know. So it's kind of boundless. Anything is possible.
I think that's the most important thing, that, somehow our education often is part of the limiting. Unless you can perform at this level, don't even try.
Yeah.
And that for me is so sad, is that, and in fact, I think I've mentioned before, I was very privileged to teach music at a fantastic school in Zimbabwe once. And because I wasn't a trained music teacher, I could actually experiment and do all sorts of things.
Yeah.
That were
carte blanche.
Off the desk, as it were. And we used to have such fun. I mean, really, talking about your Aboriginal things, one of the things I got them to do, one of the years, I think it was the second year, all of the classes, I sent them home and I said, go and find anything that makes a lovely sound when you bang it, or, what's the word I wanted? Just manipulate it in some way.
Paddle it, manipulate it, yeah.
And so they each made a percussion instrument.
Mm.
And it could be bottle tops, on a piece of string or anything.
Mm.
I mean, some of the kids came back with some absolutely extraordinary things that
Really? Really?
And
Wow.
then because the headmaster was such an extraordinary educationalist, actually, he said to me, I've got an idea. I think what we'll do is we're going to have an inter-form competition and the rest of the staff can be the judges. So we had, you know, and the
Wow.
kids absolutely loved it because it was their creation.
Yeah.
Nobody
Yeah.
actually stood over them and said, you have to, you must, you should, you know, any of those pejorative words. And
Excellent.
it
Excellent idea.
was fun.
Yeah. And they had already had this prowess because they knew how to play it and nobody else did. So it's so good for their self-esteem, I think. Yeah.
And creativity.
Yes.
No, because they
Yeah.
created, and I said to them, it's just the only request I have of you is that it sounds good to the ear.
Mm.
So they
Mm.
had to practice and find for themselves because I was not going to judge it.
No.
They
No.
needed to be able to do that. And I'm talking about sort of early teens, you know, I'm not talking about
Mm. Mm.
adults.
No, really young kids. Oh, brilliant. I think that's a superb idea. And in fact, that's what the Aboriginals did. You know, they
Sure.
would, they had this amazing collection of stones too.
Oh,
Um,
right.
in the desert, of course, in the Australian desert, which is red, bright red, gorgeous, but it just gets everywhere. It took me, when I got back from that trip, it took me about 3 months to get rid of all this red dust, which was absolutely in my skin pores. You know, every time I had a shower, that some more red dust would, it was amazing,
Yeah.
amazing, but a fantastic color. And of course, the landforms are really unusual in the Australian desert. You know, they're very uh, architectural, very, very primitive, unusual forms. And so they had collected these stones over the years, and they, when they played them, when they struck them either with sticks they'd made from desert plants, everything was made from the desert, everything, nothing man-made at all. Then or they would bang the stones together or drop the stones on one another, then the range of sound was extraordinary, extraordinary. And of course, to add to this, which brings me back to your kids with their inventions, I mean, they explained, no, they didn't explain, they shared that their ancestors had used these songs since, well, if you ask an Aboriginal, how long have you been here? They say, oh, I've always been here, mate. You know? And I say, then you say, will you always be here in the future? Oh, yeah, I'll always be here in the future. Yeah, with this strange accent, you know. But they don't believe that they are born and then die and so on. They just have
Oh,
always been there
oh,
because,
really?
yeah, because time is circular. So it's moving around the whole time. I mean, lots of indigenous cultures have the time as a circle, but for the Aborigines, this circle, yeah, never ended. They really believe they've always been there on the earth.
Fascinating.
And they also believe that their father is the earth, which is really unusual compared with other, you know, indigenous tribes. Father is earth and mother nature. So father and mother. So it's in some ways very, very logical, you know.
It's both and it's both logical and illogical.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so they would say, oh, yes, we've always played this music. We've always played these songs, sang these songs. The language has always been the same forever, they will say.
And I'm
Which,
sure it literally springs from self. I'm
yeah,
sure, you
yeah,
know, because there's no formula to be followed.
no,
it's one of the things that I feel really quite strongly about in life. And again, it's a both and. Sometimes we need structure and form. Sometimes we really just need to be able to let go and experiment and play.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, play
yeah.
being my favorite 4-letter words, by the way.
Absolutely. I think it's mine too. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's really crucial to be truly happy. Before I was talking about my moral duty to be happy. Well, that's rather serious, but I think it's my real life's mission to play, to, to enjoy. And that, of course, is such a big part of happiness, to
Well, I hope
enjoy.
you'll come. I'm resurrecting my play dates that I used
Yes.
to do online during COVID. And with the help of a very nice young man in South Africa, we're going to resurrect them. So hopefully you will come and play. And the
Oh,
play
yeah.
will be about exploring concepts playfully.
Super. I love that. Well, that's the real intersection of my work, as you know, where I'm really, yes, really intersecting between the intellectual mind and the non-intellectual mind, if I may call them those. So
Pardon.
it's absolutely, really what I'm doing a lot of the time, getting people away from concepts and into a kind of natural sensing of that, rather than giving it that formula, giving it that form. So, of course, that's a very Buddhist idea that what really matters in our lives is what is formless. And we've talked about this before, haven't we? So, your feelings, your state, all of these invisible, formless things at the end of the day are the most important in life, we could
Well,
say.
I hesitate to use things like the most important. I think,
Oh,
again,
yeah.
because we're individuals, it will be much more important for some than for
Yeah,
others.
I agree.
That there is no ritual about this, and
No,
rigor.
no.
Rigor is the word I wanted.
Yes.
And that ability to express ourselves as individuals, and which is why I came up with this whole thing about the body as a musical instrument, is that look after it in the same way that you would if you had a precious violin. You know, keep it well tuned, unless, of course, you want to be naughty and play out of tune, which can sometimes be quite defiant,
Yes. And very funny. I love it when people sing out of tune. And actually, I find it really difficult to sing out of tune. How about you? Parties and things where people are, please sing this out of tune. Couldn't do it at all. I was always gliding back to the harmonic place that I was supposed to be in. It's so funny. But yes, absolutely. We are incredible instruments.
Aren't
And
we? I mean, the human is really extraordinary.
mm,
And that knowledge that we can actually use this instrument, to create beautiful music in the world, which, is either as a solo instrument or in combination with
yeah.
others.
I mean, that's perfect, isn't it, for collaboration or for, your own solo direction. Yes, there are so many ways in which it is. I have a very strong feeling and I think I've checked the research on this. It's never been finally, decided upon. But I feel that all music, which after all is rhythm and tone put together, is uh, intrinsically human. I think it's always been there for us.
Well, that raises in my mind the whole thing of the voice, which is how we express ourselves. And how voices actually, when we are anxious, they completely change. Or when we're having fun and we just relax and it completely changes. And so the voice in itself is so expressive and really tells us a lot when people are happy, and the sound is completely different from when anxious, etc., etc. And that's why I love what you're saying about the Aborigines, is that just creating sound, not from a place of I have to, or I'm performing, or somebody's going to report me to the headmaster because I haven't done the right thing, It's just sharing sound.
Yes. So that, yes, that really human desire to hear sound. I mean, as you know, I live in Japan. So this is a really interesting topic, I think, because here silence is very important, as you know, probably. So, you can go through a whole day and all your neighbors are silent. We can hardly tell there are people there. They're so respectful and so determined not to disturb anybody.
Right.
But then if you go into what do we call it? Well, I suppose we call it a bar. It's an izakaya in Japanese. It's a kind of bar where people can drink alcohol and eat snacky food, and have fun. And there's music quite often. The noise is incredible. The sound level. I mean, almost bursts my eardrums. I can't believe human beings can be so noisy. They can be incredibly noisy here in Japan. Yeah. So they've got this incredible contrast, silence, in which they spend time reading the air around you before they speak, which is very unnerving for foreigners. And then at the other extreme, you've got this incredible racket in enclosed spaces like izakayas or department stores. Department stores here are the noisiest places I've ever been.
That's interesting. I don't remember, I was very privileged on the one trip I did make to Japan, where my husband was, wanting to buy some particular machinery or something. So, I mean, yes, they were looking after us because they wanted what was in the check in his pocket. But one of the directors of the company said to me he would like to introduce me to Japanese life. So he took me to a department store. Now, I'm talking about a long, long time ago. And he literally took me from the top floor all the way down to the food section in the basement. And that was how he introduced me to Japanese norms, customs, and so fascinating. I just put that at a recorder.
Yeah, absolutely fascinating, isn't it? And, one of the things that I noticed when I first went to a department store, when I got here, and I was still kind of arriving, culture shock and so on, was this incredible thing of riding elevators. And here they're incredibly ornate and beautiful nowadays. And standing behind groups of women, usually women, who are making these incredible sounds. I demonstrated yesterday. So they say, eh? This incredible kind of range from their feet to their crowns. And of course it means surprise. You're so surprised by something. And I was so shocked because I always thought that Japanese people were so quiet, but they're not. They are when they need to be. And of course, they're very culturally obedient, very incredibly culturally obedient. But then when they're not needing to do that, they really let their hair down.
Lovely. Lovely.
Fascinating. Anyway, gosh, we've covered some interesting topics today that I hadn't even thought of. So talk about spontaneity. It's great, isn't it? Yeah.
Lovely.
Well, my dear. Yeah. Long may it last. Well, my dear, please stay cool. I think it's, as you say, getting cooler.
It's going to be better today.
And send me some of those cool vibrations because I'm getting hotter.
Bless you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. My pleasure. And I'll see you very soon. I'll be in touch. Lots of love to you. Bye. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. I hope that was entertaining. I just wanted to say we're here every week, Margaret and I. We love it. We talk and we love you to listen in. And of course, we're talking about music and how it applies to life. So if you want something entertaining, something light, we're never going to get very serious on this show, then this is the time to find us. And the program is called Your Body is a Musical Instrument. So please come and join us every Friday at 3:30 BST. Thank you to LinkedIn members. Thank you to YouTubers. And we'll play out with the wonderful Vidor. Again, this is the Vidor Toccata in, which key is it in? C minor. No, it's not. I've forgotten which key it's in. Never mind, doesn't matter. Let's play it again. And we wish you a wonderful week ahead. We'll be posting clips and we'll be in touch very, very soon. Bye for now. Have a great day. Bye.